Welcome back to our PCT Short. I'm Jonah Johnson. So another viewer question this week is Metribuzin dinging or hindering our soybeans in the early season? So excellent question. We get this pretty much annually, and so let's dig into it. So Metribuzin, a common herbicide, a residual herbicide you should recognize. We have our PCT Crop Protect Metribuzin EXT, and of course it's a major ingredient in Metrichlor-Pre as well. And so Metribuzin been around a long time. Actually, we're starting to use a lot more of it now. And so you think about that, that's part of the Photosystem II group 5 herbicide group. And so also atrazine and simazine resides in that group if that resonates with you. And so this is a great herbicide to suppress some annual grasses, and then of course some predominant broadleaf weeds like waterhemp, palmer amaranth, and marestail, and others. And so a very important herbicide. So the question arises from, I think, that every year these cold, wet springs, we incorporate our residuals, that we're starting to see some beans get dinged, and it's getting traced back to potential Metribuzin interaction. And so can it happen? Yes, it can. And so several things going on. So this used to be a major factor about 15 years ago when I was in the seed industry. A lot of varieties were actually rated for Metribuzin. They'd have trials with that. And the good news now is that a lot of soybean varieties across the industry, through DNA analysis and other background investigations, know that a lot of these varieties have a pretty good tolerance to Metribuzin in general. But can we have an interaction anyway? And yes, we absolutely can. So when you think about conditions that warrant that, first of all, what does the damage look like? You'll get intraveinal chlorosis in the leaves because that herbicide is moved up in the plant through the xylem. And so it typically, when the seedlings are very young, they'll move to those first newly emerging leaves, and that's where you start to see some of that singeing and burning look. 9 times out of 10, they grow out of it, and I've rarely ever seen any yield loss because of that directly. Now, conditions that also can make this, aggravate this scenario. If we have cold, wet conditions in the spring, obviously that herbicide has to be imbibed and metabolized through that soybean plant, and it usually can. But when respiration rates or that active growth is greatly retarded, that plant's imbibing in that and sitting in it for a longer period of time, which can cause some dinging of those plants. Also, coarse textured soil, high pHs, 7.6 and above, you want to watch that. Watch your rates. Make sure you look at the label. Depend on your soil texture. Obviously, you can ask your seed vendor what if they have any ratings on the herbicide tolerances to Metribuzin, and then of course the weather rules all. So I've again rarely ever seen a major problem with this. I think you need to keep this in your herbicide arsenal as you're fine-tuning your burn downs and experimenting when to incorporate those residuals, because it's really important for keeping water hemp from germinating, and especially till we can get our overlapping residual and that second post application out there on our soybeans. So if you have further questions, follow us on X and PCTnutrients.com. I'm Jonah Johnson. Thanks for watching.